As we enter the story of Saxon mystique, we find two engineers working frantically on the varied paraphernalia required to perform their occult art. The phone rings. Its call to arms stirs these ordinarily placid men into a raging storm of activity as they prepare for their date with destiny. The orders from the other end of the line are barked cryptically into the instrument. The Schlumberger man listens anxiously and records the following message. The well is in the old Springfield, 20 miles from here. It will be ready to survey in 2 hours. The swift and powerful vehicle which will transport it over the rugged terrain to the well site. A final check of men, vehicles, and equipment is made. Every lock is checked. Every piece of this top-secret equipment fastened to its moorings. The call to action is answered with a final wave of, "Go get them, men!" Sparks are set, magnetos adjusted, the starter turns the crank which will set these vehicular behemoths in motion toward their rendezvous with fortune. As these two men and their powerful machines whirl into action, who could have foreordained the overwhelming consequences to be wrought by them and those who were to follow? From this truck, leased from Shell Oil Company, for Schlumberger had none of its own, would blossom an oil country service organization numbering its employees into the thousands and its annual revenues into the hundreds of millions, would have enough rolling stock on the streets and macadamized roads of America to make mobile the entire populations of Oxnard, California, and Dime Box, Texas. The operators are Deschard and Legrand, two of Schlumberger's first employees, two men who were, this day, to set the wheels in motion that would build an empire and cause lesser companies to quake in its very shadow. These are times to try men's souls as our two heroes keep drumming ever onward toward a job site that may be inhabited by hostiles, for they and their new mysterious technique are looked upon with skepticism at this point in history. They hear such things as, "What are those crazy Frenchmen up to now? Can a French electronic technician from the vineyards of southern France find true happiness in this wilderness of derrick and pipe?" But this does not deter them. No, they proceed onward and upward, hoping that this day they will be accepted for the true value of the significant human contribution they are to make. And little do they know that this is exactly the kind of day it is to be. For at the rig site, the muscular roustabouts are feverishly going about their duties, making the well ready to receive the sound. The driller is nattily attired in a sou'wester, reminiscent of the whaling days in New Bedford. It sits rakishly atop his golden locks as he delicately manipulates the brawny machinery which will extricate the drill string from the hole. The roustabouts pit their Herculean strength, man and machine, against the now impotent shaft of steel. The yawning jaws of the elevator are lowered for the next to the last time, grasping the collar string in its sinew of steel and cradling it gently in the fingerboard, high in the superstructure. The bit, now placid in its uselessness, breaks ground and the Schlumberger trucks are jockeyed into position. For now, and only now, is the well bore clear of all obstructions and ready to receive the instrumentation which will expose, to the trained eye, its innermost secrets. As soon as the bit is clear, Deschard and Legrand swing into action. A roustabout shoulders the son and hustles toward the wellhead. When the shiv wheel is centered on the hole, the tripods are set up and the instruments are made ready. Who was to know that at some future time, in some future place, all this would be handled from inside their very own truck? Legrand and Deschard hook up the sensitized cables to the winch drum. Cutter key is shoved home, marrying cable and sound as it rests in the tool trap, which has been previously installed by the roustabouts. The odometer is positioned precisely on 0, 0, 0, 0, reading from left to right. The brake on the winch is released and gravity goes to work. The winch whirls like a dervish and the shiv wheel rotates at a similarly rapid rate as the Sonde commences its precarious journey into the bowels of the earth. As the odometer registers its story in depth, 2138, 2155, 2170, the Schlumberger technicians, sheltered from the vicious afternoon sun beneath a beach umbrella, watch anxiously as the instrument is lowered to the ultimate depth of 8,873 feet. Here, the measurement starts. All Schlumberger measurements are made coming uphole at all times. This is to ensure that the cable is always tight and depth measurements accurate. Just another of those little extras you get but never pay for with Schlumberger. As the Sonde starts uphole, the synchronized shiv at the winch measures exactly 1 meter with every revolution. This is transmitted through a flexible shaft to the drive on the recorders. This transmitted energy drives the rolls of graph paper at a synchronous rate with respect to depth. One operator records the SP curve, the other the resistivity curve. They work feverishly with reflexes attuned so that man and machine work as one. The Sonde is located at 7,638 feet now, moving ever upward as it gathers its information. Deschar and Legrand work with quick, sure hands to get this information on paper. As the ink-filled styli move to and fro, tracing their erratic portraits of the terrain below, these two men peek into the boudoir of Mother Earth to learn her most intimate secrets. Still, the needle moves. Still, Deschar and Legrand maintain their vigil of the world below. As the stylus moves, the peaks and valleys which are left in its path will be evaluated, as only Schlumberger can, by a corps of interpreters. The porosity log peaks and starts a gradual decline as the information keeps pouring in. Note that the engineer, in his zeal to get all this information as accurately as possible, has moved from under the protection of his umbrella. This is dedication beyond duty, determination not found in the common man. As he works, he is unmindful of the sun which boils down on his now uncovered head. We are reaching near the surface now, and the once vigorous stylus relaxes its vigil and moves to the stop position. The signal is given to the winch operator to speed up the ascent and come out of the hole as quickly as possible, for Schlumberger does not want to detain the drilling crew from its appointed rounds any longer than absolutely necessary. The log is finished. The winch operator acknowledges the signal to stop and stops. The shiv is disconnected and is carried carefully from the derrick floor. The ever-present cotter key, which prevents the Sonde from falling back into the hole, is disconnected as the Sonde rests in the tool trap. Another protective device so necessary to wireline operations. As the tool trap is removed, the roustabouts are prudent in their handling of this mysterious instrument. The Schlumberger engineers make a fast but not final interpretation of the findings as the roughnecks look on in awe. Deschar and Legrand make ready to return old number 1 and her contents to headquarters. The top secret instruments are restored to their rightful resting place. And as the sun sinks low in the western sky, the roughnecks wave a fond adieu to this weary band of industrious Frenchmen, who this day have demonstrated the true meaning of brotherhood pioneers who, from these humble beginnings, will lead Big Blue to the zenith of the industry. Men who will see their service become the standard by which others will perform future services. Men who will someday be the good housekeeping of the oil industry, whose seal of approval will prompt engineers throughout this big, wide, wonderful world of ours to turn to their assistance and say, "Run me a Schlumberger."